Greetings, friends of the Great Second Advent Movement, and welcome to the Present Truth Studies YouTube channel. I'm your host once again, Brother Eric, and welcome today. We're going to get up into a very important discussion, or at least introduce you about some things that are developing in the church about this connection or discovery that the Seventh-day Adventist Church is involved with this illegal immigration crisis involving NGOs, that is, non-government organizations that are all tied up or in bed with the United Nations. And so these are some disturbing revelations that are coming out now on the internet. And the question is, where does this go in Bible prophecy? This is what we want to know, because this is ultimately, what is God going to do about all this? And there is an answer. So I'll just go in today and share with you some of the sources that are reporting on this, some things for your background, and then point you to ultimately where this is addressed in the Bible. I'll give you a hint. It's in Revelation chapter 17. Now, we're not going to do a detailed study on that at this point, but we're working on a presentation that will be scheduled to let out on Sunday, this coming Sunday. So stay tuned for that. But here for our report today, let's go in and look at what's the news out there that's got the church members awakened that something isn't right. Well, Advent Media Connect reported that Fox News, okay, this is world news, stunned by announcing the role of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in this illegal immigration crisis. Now, this is a hot issue now that we have a new administration in the United States under Donald Trump. There's been probably the highest priority is to secure our borders and stop this flood of barbarians, if you will, illegal immigrants, many of which, not all, but many of them are very highly involved in criminal activities. We're not talking just petty crimes, but we're talking about murders, rapes, sex trafficking, child trafficking, drugs. I mean, the worst of the worst. The prisons in South America are being opened up and sending all their worst up here. And this whole crisis has been evolving. And the United States is, like I say, the amount of deaths from drug overdoses, fentanyl, child trafficking. I mean, we're talking a huge toll on society. So there's a mandate now to, secure the borders and clean this up and get these people, the worst ones, rounded up and shipped out, deported. So this has created a huge political firestorm because voices on the left are going, they're making all these pleas that these poor people, are being abused or whatever. But most of this is false. And the irony is that some of the voices are coming from the churches. Why is that? Why are the churches all on the side of, supporting this invasion of barbarians into the United States or Western countries in general throughout Europe? And why are they, justifying this using supposedly biblical reasons? This is how Jesus would love our neighbor. Well, this is a nefarious plot to undermine Western society. And so this report from Fox News is talking about the illegal immigration crisis and the efforts to now reverse it, and the role of NGOs, which is a non-governmental organization tied up with the United Nations. And Seventh-day Adventists were called out as one of them on national news. So this stuns the Adventist community. So Advent Media Report talks about it here. And so how deep does this go? And it goes quite deep. I'm going to go to another post on this website, Fulcrum 7 News, conservative Adventist website, said the Seventh-day Adventist Church named on TV for helping facilitate mass illegal immigration to the United States. Oh, man, now that's a serious charge. And this was posted January 25, and now this has it documented. Okay. Back, they talked about the role of ADRA, the Adventist Relief Agency, facilitating mass immigration. Now, the problem with this is, okay, not only are you violating national sovereignty and laws, immigration laws, but the riffraff that comes with this is, like I say, connected with the worst of the worst: drugs, sex trafficking, child abuse, murders, rapes. So is this anything you would think that a church should be involved in facilitating? The answer should be an obvious no. But this documents the problem and the report, and what's the church doing about this? And so it's provoked Adventists to start looking deeper into this, the nature of this, and how this came about to be. And the connection of the church with the United Nations is the disturbing thing. And this leads to, like I say, the agenda of feminism, abortion, radical environmentalism, climate change, LGBTQ stuff, the godless worldview, and now illegal immigration. So this is just piling, just the mass of rebellion against God and sins is just becoming overwhelming. And it ties back into position statements that the church has made from the ADCOM, the Administrative Committee, not from General Conference Session, that they've been setting this up for literally decades. And so we're going to show you some of the source. So this is a good one here. Go read this article. Okay. And we'll put a link in the description box below. Now, here's another report from the same source, Advent Media Connect, interviews a sister out of Australia, Sister Joanna. She's part of this ministry called SDA Pearl, and she's really done some excellent homework to document the role of the Seventh-day Adventist Church being in bed with the World Health Organization and the United Nations and the implications. And so in this particular summary, she's documented this. She's done some excellent research, and it's very disturbing. It goes back to agreements that the Adventist Church has made with the United Nations back starting in 1985. And so the implications of this, and really what it does is it castrates the role of the church to carry out its mission, which is supposed to be to preach the three angels' message, right? Well, that is impossible if you're in bed with these, or in league or in confederacy with these worldly institutions. And so this sister documents this all. So if you're not familiar with that, I recommend you go check out this. She's done some excellent research. We don't want to repeat that. But this is truly eye-opening. And so then it begs the question, well, if this is true, then what can the church do about it? And that's ultimately where we have to step in and say, this is so deep and so involved. I mean, it's not only involving, illegal immigration, but the whole agenda about gender-affirming care in the Adventist hospitals, the mandates and the jabs during the COVID crisis, the violation of rights of conscience, the Elder Conrad Vine brought up, the whole issue with the Michigan Conference and Ron Kelly. I mean, it's all tied together. Okay, so this is not an isolated thing. This is just that God's allowing to see how deeply entrenched these worldly associations or confederacies are and how dangerous it is. And ultimately, we want to ask the question, what's God going to do about it? Well, we've been trying to warn on this channel for quite some time that God will step in and purify and cleanse. All right, let's go look at some other recent news on this. This website, Gateway Pundit, has been posting on this for quite some time. Dozens of articles. Here's one back in December of 2022 talking about Catholic NGOs receive billions in government funding to provide illegals housing, food, healthcare, financial assistance, and more. So this is just one of dozens of articles that you can look up on this website. Now, it's focusing on Catholics, but hint, friends, they're not the only ones. All the Protestant children or daughters of the apostate mother are involved. And strangely, why would the Adventist Church be caught up in this? Well, that's what's so disturbing. Now, here's a more recent report that came out just this past week, entitled from the same source, Gateway Pundit, 2.9 billion reasons why U.S. bishops loved Biden but hate Trump. And I'll give you a hint. It's because of the immigration. They make tons of money through federal grants and aid packages. And that's why these religious leaders are in such a uproar now that Trump has come in and holding people to accountability, shutting off some of this funding or calling for investigation on fraud and misuse of funds. So the $2.9 billion is the amount of money that Catholic NGOs have received. So this certainly under the Biden regime. And now that Trump's in charge, he's beginning to put a halt to this. So these religious leaders who are fully indoctrinated with Marxist leftist ideology are having an uproar. They've gotten filthy rich off of this. And so this post here is documenting the amount of this involvement. And it's just showing you graphically here. I'm showing a chart. Catholic immigration funding by administration in years, and this goes all the way back to 2009, so you can see the level, but since 2021, you can see this dramatic upshoot in the amount of funding. I mean, we're talking literally in the billions, okay, under the different administrations. Obama, $1.6 billion, under Trump, $0.8 billion, and then under Biden, $2.9 billion. So this is why they're all in uproar that Trump, in his second term now, has got a mandate from the American people. Shut this stuff off. You know, we don't want our neighborhoods invaded by violent criminal gangs, and the cost on our society, all the young people getting caught up with drug overdoses and all of this. I mean, this is really an evil assault on Western culture, and American people are fed up with it. So follow the money trail. So this is quite an interesting report. And you can see the charts here and all the data that this is a big problem that's exploded in the last 4 years, and now it's about to be shut down or curtailed. And you would think, well, is the Adventist Church involved? Well, the answer is unfortunately yes. And that's the sister from SDA Pearl is documenting that they're caught up in this. They get a lot of money. The Adventist Church was caught taking money during the COVID crisis. Okay, millions and millions of dollars of applying for these, what they call PPP loans and so forth. So all of this stuff has been documented. They're in a confederacy. And we did a prior post on Isaiah 8 about the danger of, say, not a confederacy or getting in league with the worldly institutions. I said, this is going to create a compromise in the God-given commission for the church to preach the gospel in the form of the three angels' message. And the final thing I want to point out here real quick is this guy here, Michael Yon, is a war correspondent reporter that has really done a lot to document how deeply involved NGOs are. And he has a post on his, I'll post a link in the description box below, on his Substack, talking about the invasion, the barbarian invasion of the hordes of the illegals. And in this report, I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs. Okay, talking about what's causing this. He said, the Colombian and other local cartels are not causing this. Okay, so a lot of discussion about Trump declaring cartels of Mexico is terrorist group, and people thinking, oh, we get rid of them, you'll get rid of the problem. Oh, no. They're just on the surface. So let us read here. He said, they are merely tools and beneficiaries along the way, such as are all the airlines who knowingly fly the invaders from and to airports in Asia, Africa, and Europe and the Americas to reach these places. So you can see how deeply entrenched this is. Everybody's making money off of this barbarian invasion. Yet the people say, it's the cartels. Nonsense. It's the NGOs, such as the United Nations and their funders, such as the United States, and the World Economic Forum members of many ilks. Those are the problem. And see, Michael Yon has been the one to expose the role of these NGOs in the Darien Gap down in Panama to get these people funneled in from South American countries into Panama, then on up into Mexico, and then across the open border, or previously open border. So he's been at the forefront of this awakening people, documented right down there on the ground the role of the NGOs. And so this paints a very dark picture of, well, why is the Adventist Church in any way, shape, or form connected with this. So you see, this is a deep-rooted problem. So ultimately, where's this in the Bible? And the answer is in Revelation 17. Now, we're going to do a detailed study on that for our next video, coming out Sunday, God willing, to go into this about the apostate whore, the mother of harlots, and her role. So I'm showing here in this graphic a chart of the world's history and prophetic symbols, starting all the way back from the antediluvian world. But if you get down there towards the bottom, you see the woman, the mystery Babylon, in Revelation 17, that sits on the seven heads, a church federation in Revelation 17. And then this leads to a federation of church and state, the image of the beast system. This is coming. This is future. So that woman sits on the scarlet-colored beast of Revelation 17. This is the answer in the Bible. And Seventh-day Adventist theology is all messed up on this. So they do not understand the understanding of those heads and what's happening here. And this is the next succession of the United Nations. Now, the sister in SDA Pearl talks about the role to understand the history of this. You got to go back to the League of Nations that rose up around the time of World War I, but then morphed into the United Nations around the end of World War II. But what's next on the scene? And the answer is through inspiration. So right here, okay, this is a sermon address from the original Shepherd's Rod, Timely Greetings, Volume 2, number 17 and 18. And here's the title. Now, if you'd like a copy of this, I'll be happy to send you an electronic version or a print copy. But there's two sermons here, first delivered in 1948, right after the establishment of the United Nations. The first one is the world government and the only people who will not bow down to it. So what we see is this engineering of a one world government. So who are the only people that won't bow to it? So that's the title of the first sermon. And then the next one is the final world government. Communistic or capitalistic? Which one? Turns out it's neither one. But we see the role of communist powers struggling for the supremacy to control the world. So where's the answer? Well, ultimately, it has to be in the Bible through inspiration. And so I submit that this is the answer. So we're going to be addressing this in more detail. If you'd like to get a copy and pre-read it for your investigation. Also, it's covered in Revelation 17, the scarlet-colored beast, in this book, Shepherd's Rod, Volume 2. There's a section there on that particular beast and the role of the 10 horns on that beast, representing communism. Okay? So these are things that we need to study. This, friends, is present truth. So please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I want to share one more thing with you, too, about a book I forgot about, that the role of the World Health Organization, of course, ultimately, fanatically pro-immunization, pro-jab. And this explains why the Adventist Church is in bed with Big Pharma, and they will never retract or retrace. So the whole question about, well, what about the science behind this? Well, it's largely a hoax, but I wanted to share with you a source. This book is a little hard to get by. I'm going to show you the title of it. Okay. And it's by two Adventist authors, Timothy Brenich and Michael J. Ferris. Okay. And they published this book in 2015. Now, keep in mind, this is before the COVID crisis, but this is a response to the problems with the 2015 General Conference statement on immunization. Okay. And calling a petition to call for them to withdraw from that. The same thing that the sister in SDA Pearl is talking about. But on the back of this, they give all the detailed evidence about what the Bible says, what Ellen White says, history and science, to expose the fallacies of being involved with the World Health Organization and Big Pharma and all these mandates to jab people and all this. And the whole science of the V word is largely quackery. Okay, so this is an excellent resource. If you can find this book in print copy, these two gentlemen have done an excellent, very well, carefully documented and exposing the fallacies that you hear from church leaders. Oh, well, Ellen White was really... No, she was not, okay? How they're taking statements from her or taking anecdote evidence to suggest that she was, and it's absolutely patently false. Also exposing the troubles with putting science at the level of biblical revelation or even above it. Science is fallible, friends. And certainly the science involving immunizations is deeply suspect. So this goes into some of the history of the HPV and others, and a lot of the problems with that's well documented in the literature. So once again, if you can get a copy of that, I recommend it. This will help you get a better understanding of why the church is in an absolute crisis and how they're not going to change their position. I don't care how many people you get to sign petitions. The church leaders are not going to change. They're so deeply entrenched with this politically, but also follow the money trail. It's big money, okay? And the Adventist institutions and the doctors are all in on it. So this is going to require divine intervention. I keep repeating this. God is going to have to step in, and the Bible has the answers. And of course, ultimately, it's in Ezekiel 9, where God will step in and remove the ancient men and those that bow down and follow them. So friends, this is serious business. So I appreciate your time. May God richly bless your search for truth as for hidden treasure, and to cease from all men whose breath is in their nostrils. Until we meet again, Godspeed.